You know the smell. It's not quite dust, and it's not quite ozone. It's the smell of heated plastic and recycled air. That dry, static-charged atmosphere that clings to your clothes even after you leave. You've breathed this air for 5 years. 5 years of the same gray carpet tiles. 5 years of the same flickering fluorescent tube above your cubicle that maintenance promised to fix back in 2019. 5 years of being the dependable one, that's what they call you, reliable. A fixture. When you walk in on a Tuesday morning, nobody looks up. You are part of the architecture. You are as essential and as invisible as the support beams in the wall. And you were fine with that. Honestly, you like the competence. You like knowing exactly how to unjam the copier by hitting it in that one specific spot on the left side. You liked knowing that when the database crashed at 3 p.m. on a Friday, you were the only person in the building who knew the command line prompt to bring it back to life. It gave you a sense of security, job security. Then came Kevin. Kevin, 23 years old. A suit that fit a little too perfectly. A smile that showed too many teeth. He had that specific energy of someone who has never had to choose between paying the electric bill or buying groceries. The boss brought him over to your desk. The boss, a man who still calls you by the wrong last name sometimes, clapped a hand on Kevin's shoulder. "This is the future," the boss said. "Show him the ropes. Make him a clone of yourself." Kevin looked at you. He didn't look at you like a superior. He looked at you like you were a museum exhibit, an interesting artifact from a bygone era. "I'm ready to learn," Kevin said. "I've heard you're the wizard around here." The wizard. It felt good. It stroked that little ego center in the back of your brain. So, you took him under your wing. For the first 3 months, you were inseparable. You weren't just training a coworker. You were crafting a legacy. You saw yourself in him, or at least the version of yourself you wished you had been 5 years ago. You taught him everything, and I don't mean the stuff in the employee handbook. Anyone can read a PDF. You taught him the real job. You taught him that urgent emails from the marketing department can be ignored for exactly 4 hours before anyone actually follows up. You taught him the back door into the legacy system, the one that saves 3 hours of data entry every morning. You introduced him to Brenda in accounting. You told him, always ask Brenda about her cats before you submit an expense report. If you do, it gets approved in 10 minutes. If you don't, it sits in pending for 3 weeks. You gave him the keys to the kingdom. You remember that Tuesday in November? It was raining. The windows were streaked with gray. The office felt colder than usual. Kevin was struggling with the Henderson account. Old man Henderson was a nightmare client. He chewed up junior associates for sport. He was screaming on the other end of the line, his voice audible even without speakerphone. Kevin looked at you. His eyes were wide. Panic. Genuine animal panic. You smiled. You muted his headset. "Watch this," you whispered. You took the headset. You used the voice, that calm, low, authoritative baritone you had perfected over 1,000 crisis calls. You didn't apologize. You didn't grovel. You just steered the conversation. You used the logic loops you knew Henderson couldn't resist. 2 minutes later, Henderson was laughing. 5 minutes later, the contract was renewed. You handed the headset back to Kevin. He looked at you like you were a god. "How did you do that?" he asked. "Experience," you said. "You'll get there." You felt safe. You felt valuable. You thought you were building an ally. You thought that when you eventually moved up, Kevin would be the one to take your seat, carrying on your traditions. You were so stupid. It happened on a Thursday. The office was quiet. Most people were working from home, but you were there because you liked the focus. Kevin was there because he was eager. You walked to the printer, the big industrial Xerox in the hallway that always smells like burnt toner. You needed to grab a shipping label, just one sheet of paper, but the tray was full. Someone had sent a print job and forgotten to pick it up. You didn't mean to snoop. You really didn't. You're a person of integrity. That's what you tell yourself. But the paper was warm, and the logo at the top was familiar. It was the HR letterhead. You picked it up to move it aside, to find your shipping label. Your eyes caught the bold text in the center of the page. You couldn't help it. The human brain is wired to recognize patterns, and dollar signs are the strongest pattern of all. Offer of employment. Name, Kevin Miller. Title, Junior Associate. Starting base. Salary, $85,000. The world stopped, literally. The hum of the refrigerator in the break room cut out. The traffic outside went silent. The only sound was the blood rushing in your ears. It sounded like the ocean, but angry. 85,000. You did the math. You couldn't stop the math. You make 60. You have been here for 5 years. You started at 45. You clawed your way up 3% by 3%. You fought for every single dime. You sat in annual reviews and listened to them tell you that the budget was tight, that the market was tough, that you should be grateful for the stability. $60,000. And Kevin, who didn't know how to unjam the copier. Kevin, who didn't know who Brenda was. Kevin, who needed you to save him from Henderson. Kevin walked in at 85, $25,000 more than you. That's a car. That's a down payment. That's the difference between pasta for dinner and steak. That's the difference between sleeping through the night and staring at the ceiling, wondering if you can afford to fix the water heater. Your hands started shaking. Not a little tremble, a violent vibration. The paper rattled. You felt sick. A physical nausea, heavy and cold in your gut. It wasn't just the money. Money is paper. Money is numbers. It was the lie. Every time they told you there's no budget, they were lying. The money was there. It was always there. They just didn't want to give it to you. You were the discount option. You were the clearance rack employee. And Kevin? Kevin was the luxury model. You heard footsteps, rubber soles on carpet, energetic, bouncy. Kevin came around the corner. He was holding a mug of coffee. "Hey, buddy," he said. "Think I left my offer letter on the friend." But the mask didn't slip. It evaporated. Kevin didn't flush. He didn't stutter. He didn't look down. He took a sip of his coffee. He looked you dead in the eye. And he smiled. Not the eager, new hire smile. A different smile. A smile that didn't reach his eyes. It was the smile of a predator looking at a wounded deer. "Careful," Kevin said. His voice was different too. Deeper, flatter. Paper cuts. He reached out and took the letter from your hand. He didn't snatch it. He just took it. "Kevin," you whispered. Your voice sounded weak. Pathetic. "You make 85? He folded the letter. He slipped it into his jacket pocket. "Market rate," he said. He shrugged. "I negotiated. I had leverage. I had competing offers. I trained you, you said. I showed you everything. I saved you with Henderson." Kevin laughed. It was a short, dry sound. "Yeah," he said. "You did. And I appreciate that. It really sped up my onboarding process. He didn't see you as a person. He didn't see you as a mentor. He saw you as a resource. You were a tutorial level. You were an interactive wiki page he could mine for data until he had what he needed. Does the boss know? You asked. Know what? That I make more than you? Kevin stepped closer. He invaded your personal space. Who do you think signed the letter, genius? That hit harder than the number. The boss knew. The boss sat across from you last week, looked at your tired eyes, and thanked you for your dedication. He thanked you for getting Kevin up to speed. He was thanking you for training your replacement, because that's what this is. You look at Kevin, really look at him, for the first time. You don't see a kid anymore. You see the future. He's not better than you. He's not smarter than you. He's just newer. He is version 2.0. You are the legacy software. You are clunky. You are expensive to maintain, not in money, but in emotional capital. You have memories. You remember when the company was different. You remember the broken promises. Kevin has no memory. He has no baggage. He is a clean slate that cost $85,000. And you? You are a depreciation asset. Don't be mad at me, Kevin said, turning to walk away. Be mad at yourself. You're the one who accepted the lowball. You're the one who stayed. He stopped at the doorway and looked back. By the way, he said, I'm taking the Henderson account. I told the boss about that trick with the logic loops. He loved it, said it showed real initiative on my part. He winked. Thanks for the tip, Sensei. He walked away. You stood there by the printer. The machine whirred to life, spitting out your shipping label. It fell into the tray where the offer letter had been. You looked at the label. It was for a return, a defective part being sent back to the factory. You walked back to your desk. The office looked different now. The gray carpet wasn't just ugly, it was a cage. The fluorescent light wasn't just annoying, it was an interrogation lamp. You sat in your chair, the chair that hurts your lower back because you never asked for an ergonomic one. You looked at your monitor. You looked at the code you wrote, the efficiencies you built, the hours of your life you poured into this place, thinking it was a savings account, thinking you were building up credit. You weren't building credit. You were digging a hole. You looked across the aisle. Kevin was on the phone. He was laughing. He had his feet up on the desk. He caught your eye. He didn't look away. He just kept talking, kept laughing. He knows he won. And the worst part, the part that sits in your throat like broken glass? He's right. It is your fault. You thought loyalty was a currency. You thought if you suffered in silence, if you worked hard, if you were the good soldier, they would reward you. But corporate loyalty is a one-way mirror. You look at them and see a family. They look at you and see a line item. You open your email, you see a request from the boss. Subject, training. Phase 2, body. Hey, Kevin is doing great. Can you show him how you handle the database migrations next week? Thanks. You look at the keyboard. You could type no. You could quit. You could burn it down. But you have a mortgage. You have debt. You are tired. So you type, sure thing. You hit send. And from across the room, you see Kevin check his phone. You see him smile. He owns you now. The student has become the master not because he learned the craft, but because he learned the system. He knows the one rule you forgot. And the prize for being a good person, that's the booby prize. That's the one they give to the suckers to keep them quiet while the Kevins of the world strip the copper wiring out of the walls. You turn back to your screen. The cursor blinks, blink, blink, blink. It looks like a heartbeat or maybe a countdown. You get back to work, someone has to earn Kevin's bonus. That feeling in your chest right now, that tightness, that isn't fiction. That is your body recognizing the truth. We tell ourselves that if we work hard, we will be taken care of. That is the great lie of the modern age. We are not being taken care of. We are being harvested. You are not paid what you are worth. You are paid what you have the leverage to demand. If you are sitting there relying on their generosity or their fairness, you are already bleeding out. You just haven't looked down yet. If you have ever trained someone who ended up becoming your boss, or if you've ever seen a Kevin climb the ladder while you held it steady, you are part of this club. The office lights are off, but we are still here. Subscribe to the channel. Let's stop building their legacies and start understanding our own value. If this story hit a nerve, drop a comment with your Kevin story. Let's get it out in the open. I'll see you on the next shift.